All right, today we're diving into something, well, it's pretty unsettling, honestly. It's a report from NATO about a brand new frontier of conflict. And this war, it's not fought with tanks or jets. It's fought on a battlefield that's way, way closer to home. Let's get into it.
So, let me ask you something. When I say modern battlefield, what pops into your head? You're probably thinking cyber attacks, right? Or maybe drones, or even space. But the newest domain of conflict? Well, it's about as personal as it gets.
And there it is, the answer. It's not on land, it's not at sea, it's in your mind. The newest battlefield is the human mind. The whole fight is for our cognition, how we see the world, how we process what we're told, and at the end of the day, how we make decisions. It doesn't get more personal than that. And it's happening right now.
Okay, so what is this new kind of war, really? To get it, you kind of have to change how you think about conflict. We're not talking about capturing territory anymore. We're talking about capturing minds.
And the scope here, it's just staggering. I mean, think about it. Traditional wars target armies, right? They target infrastructure. But cognitive warfare, it targets the entire social fabric. The old lines are just gone. That means every single one of us, soldiers, civilians, you, me, we're all on the battlefield now.
So how in the world does this even work? Well, it's kind of clever in a sinister way. Adversaries are taking the very things that make our society strong and open, our freedoms, our open media, the fact that we're all connected online, and they're turning them into weapons against us. They're basically hijacking our networks to pump in propaganda and disinformation, turning our own systems against us.
And this is a really important point. The idea of messing with an enemy's head, that's as old as war itself. But the tools they're using to do it today, whoa, they are brand new and they are dangerously effective.
So let's get a clear definition here, straight from that NATO report. This isn't just about spreading fake news. No, it's way deeper. It's the systematic use of strategies and tools to literally change human behavior by getting inside our heads. The end goal is to manipulate and alter our decision-making, to influence our thinking from the inside out.
And look, this isn't some crazy sci-fi concept. This quote from Sun Tzu's The Art of War, it's ancient and it nails the core idea. Confuse the enemy. The basic principle is timeless. The only difference is that today, the scale and the speed are just off the charts.
So what are we talking about when we say new tools? Well, think about AI that can whip up hyper-realistic deepfakes to make a leader say something they never did, or using big data to pinpoint exactly who to target with custom-made disinformation. You've got social media algorithms being twisted to create echo chambers and just pour gasoline on societal divisions. It is, quite literally, technology being weaponized against our own psychology. And these two images, side by side, they just perfectly sum up this whole thing, don't they? On one hand, you have the human brain, complex, brilliant, but also full of vulnerabilities. And on the other, you have the silicon chip, raw, powerful, modern technology. Cognitive warfare happens right there, at that intersection. It's where that tech is specifically designed to exploit our own natural mental shortcuts and biases. Okay, so the threat is pretty clear, and frankly, a little terrifying. But that begs the question, how do you even begin to fight a war for the mind? Well, let's take a look at how NATO's scientists are breaking this whole problem down so they can build a solid defense. What they've come up with is a framework they call the house model. You can think of it like a blueprint. It's designed to help them understand every single aspect of cognitive warfare, from how it affects an individual person all the way up to society as a whole. The goal is to build the defense that covers all the angles. This house is built on three main pillars of knowledge. It makes sense, right? If you want to defend the mind, you first have to understand it. So they're pulling in insights from cognitive neuroscience, how the brain is physically wired. Then, cognitive and behavioral science, why we do the things we do. And finally, social and cultural science, how our society and culture shape our worldview. Now, running across these pillars, you have what the report calls force multipliers. These are the things that just amplify the threat. So we're talking about the technology being used, the specific tactics the adversary favors, the actual cognitive effects they're aiming for, and, maybe most importantly, having the situational awareness to even realize you're under attack in the first place. And here's how it all fits together. You can see the pillars holding everything up, with the force multipliers acting like crossbeams, making the whole structure strong. But, and this is super important, the entire house rests on a foundation of legal and ethical rules. The goal here isn't to just fight fire with fire, it's about building a defense that's both resilient and principled. So what's the endgame for these attacks from a military perspective? It's all about messing with something called the OODA loop. That stands for observe, orient, decide, and act. It's the basic cycle for how anyone makes a decision, especially under pressure. So if an adversary can use these tactics to mess with what you observe, totally throw off your orientation to the situation, make you hesitate on a decision, or even stop you from acting, well, they've just gained a huge advantage.
Right, so if the attack is designed to break our decision-making, it only makes sense that the defense has to be about strengthening it. And that brings us to the actual concrete steps being taken to build what you could call a cognitive shield.
And NATO's strategy here is actually pretty simple, but really powerful. It comes down to three things. First, degrade. This is all about making it harder for our adversaries to even launch these attacks, exposing their disinformation campaigns, sanctioning the people responsible. Second, improve. This is about us getting better, enhancing our own skills with better training, boosting critical thinking, and even building tech that helps us spot manipulation. And third, withstand. This is about building up our resilience as individuals and as a society so that when we do get hit by a cognitive attack, we can recognize it, shake it off, and recover quickly without everything falling apart. So, degrade, improve, and withstand. Simple, right?
So where does that leave us? The big picture is this. The fight for our minds isn't some far-off future idea. It is happening right now, and tackling it requires a huge amount of collaboration and focus.
And the scale of this effort? It's pretty significant. Get this, NATO has kicked off more than 20 separate research projects, each one digging into a different piece of this incredibly complex puzzle.
And they're not doing it alone. This is a massive team effort. We're talking 26 different allied and partner nations all working together, sharing what they know to build a collective defense against a threat that affects every single one of them.
All right, so let's boil this all down. What are the big takeaways here? First, tackling this isn't just a job for the military. It needs a whole-of-society approach. Second, the ultimate goal is to defend our democratic values and really our basic ability to make good decisions. And finally, in this day and age, achieving what they call cognitive superiority, just being able to outthink and outmaneuver your opponent in this mental space, is every bit as important as having more tanks or planes.
And that really leaves us with one last big question, because this isn't just about governments and armies, right? In a world where every one of us is a potential target, the first line of defense has to be our own mind, our own critical thinking. So the real question for all of us is, in an age of nonstop information, how do we train our own minds to be that first and best line of defense?